What's up, everyone? This is Jason from Jason's Customs, and this episode of Breaking Down the Stick is going to expose the inner workings of the Qanba Crystal, or as I like to think of it, the PS4Q2. The Crystal's overall aesthetic and usability makes it a viable contender for king of the mid-range fight stick space and would be a good investment for those with limited cash flow. But that's not what we care about today. So let's tear this thing apart, get a feel for it, and see if it makes sense to mod it. The Crystal is compatible with PC, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation 4 out of the box, and is a step up from the Carbon or Drone. Its familiar form factor is appealing and has a neat translucent look to it, fitting given its name. Qanba is targeting the mid-range market, specifically the $125 to $140 price point, depending on where you buy it, and it makes for a viable contender against Hori's Wrap series. The LED function is an interesting, albeit unnecessary touch, since the buttons only light up blue. LEDs can be turned off, on all the time, or be set to react mode. They do add some flair to the build, but it would have been more interesting to make them RGB capable since you can't get enough RGB these days. The case does have a neat built-in handle, making it easy to carry, and weighing only a few pounds, it's easy on the arms. The USB cable is tucked away in the side door. As it was in previous models, the door is plastic and could be at risk for breaking if you aren't careful. My PS3 Q2 door is still intact, so I wouldn't call this a weak spot at all. Opening the stick is straightforward. There are 8 screws holding the bottom metal plate on. Note, one is covered by a warranty void if removed sticker, so be careful there. Remove them using a Phillips screwdriver, grab the panel near the handle, and lift it off, exposing the insides. Inside, you will find a single PCB that controls the console communications and all of the LED functions. Everything is labeled on the PCB for easy and quick identification. Evaluating the parts reveals all Qanba original buttons and levers. Not surprising, since this is still one of their budget sticks and requires some special PCB and connections for the LED function. Everything is connected using JST-style connectors, which aren't glued, meaning it's very easy to disassemble and reassemble the insides. I did have some trouble removing a couple of the quick disconnects on the buttons, but I didn't want to find my pliers to assist and eventually got them off using some muscle. With the wiring removed from the case, you can quickly see there's a lot of room for modding activities in this case, which is very nice, yet expected given the ancestry of this model. To get a closer look at the PCB, you will first remove the touchpad ribbon cable by gently opening the clip, holding it in. Next, remove the screws from the PCB using a Phillips screwdriver. Looking at the PCB closer, you will find each JST connector is labeled with its function and each pin has a label as well. This makes finding solder points for advanced mods very easy. Each button connection uses a 4-pin JST connector, one for LED V positive, one for LED ground, one for common ground, and one for the button signal itself. The USB connector is also labeled for easy and quick understanding, and the pass-through style connector makes tapping the signals for future mods extremely easy. Looking at the backside of the board reveals exposed copper traces that the dome switches contact to pass home, share, turbo, etc. back to the microprocessor on the board. Upon closer inspection with my fluke, I found that these signals can be tapped into using the test points as shown in this diagram, leaving the dome switch functions intact. The PCB maintains signals high when connected via USB, but does send the signal lines low when only connected to power. Diodes will be necessary for adding a second PCB or pad hack. The board is common ground, making mods even easier if you intend on adding a second PCB to the mix for added functionality. Removing the buttons is as simple as pressing the tabs in and pushing the button out. Although I must warn you, be careful when removing these buttons. The panel is sharp around the openings, and you will pinch your fingers if you're not paying close attention. Looking closer at the Crystal's buttons reveals a standard low-end button. They are soft, and seasoned fighters will want to upgrade them. If you look even closer, you're going to see that a small circuit board is installed on the inside. On the bottom, you're going to notice an additional connector used to connect the LED control wires to it. To get inside the button, remove the cap using a small screwdriver to disengage the plunger from the button body. Once removed, you will see the LED PCB held in with two clips to prevent vertical movement. If you carefully yet firmly press the clips from the side and above the PCB, you can release them and remove it completely. A small flathead screwdriver works well for this. The PCB has two LEDs and two resistors installed on it, with a 2-pin JST connector for ground and power. The microswitch used in the Qanba button is the same size as those used in Shimizu and Sanwa buttons and can be interchanged with either easily. I removed the microswitches from both the Sanwa and Shimizu button to compare them. Both fit well, and swapping them for the stock Qanba switch is a good way to retain the LED functions of the buttons and get a better feel as well. Using a Sanwa or Shimizu switch doesn't interfere with the LED board, so I highly recommend making the swap a priority if you get this stick. To remove the lever, first remove the ball top by holding the shaft still with a flathead screwdriver and unscrew the ball top with your free hand. The clear shaft cover and dust washer should be removed now as well. Next, remove the 4 screws holding the lever in place, and it can be removed completely. The Qanba lever is unique in the Crystal because it has an additional LED board installed under the mounting plate. To better understand how the LEDs work in this lever, remove the gate by the normal method and then the microswitch PCB by pulling it out. Unfortunately, the LED board is not part of the switch board, but rather a second board mounted under the metal plate itself. Removing the 4 screws from the plate reveals the LED board has 8 LEDs mounted on it and 2 additional screws holding it in place. Once removed, you will see the lever housing has a recess where the LED board fits into the housing. I was tempted to see if I could figure out a way to mount the board on a JLF, but I was foiled when I realized standing off the plate from the board would be necessary and only plastic washers would really do the trick. Undeterred from my quest to upgrade the lever and maintain the LEDs, I opted to try and fit JLF parts into the Qanba lever housing. I started by removing the gate, PCB, and the clips holding the shaft in place. This allowed me to remove the actuator, spring, lever, and pivot from the JLF. I then installed the JLF actuator, spring, lever, and pivot with ease. Reattaching the clip kept it all in place, and the standard JLF PCB slid right into its new home. If you do this, ensure the pin connectors are all on the same side. Unlike other Qanba levers, the JLF gate fit perfectly on this housing, and the lever felt just like a standard JLF when I was done. If upgrading the Qanba lever housing with JLF parts isn't the route you want to take, you may want to install an aftermarket lever. You will find that JLF will mount fine. The one I'm using has cherry switch micro switch upgrades, but the fitment remains the same. Some cases can't accommodate the Hori Hayabusa lever because of its overall size. The Crystal will support it, but the 5-pin connector will interfere with the low kick button. You can rotate the lever and install it with the connector facing the USB cable door, but you will quickly notice the lever cable is not long enough and will need to be extended. I recommend soldering some additional wire lengths in line if you choose to make this mod, and you should rewire the harness while you're at it since the PCB orientation is 180 degrees out of the stock position. This will reverse all of your directions, meaning up is now down and left is now right, and vice versa. Shimizu S plate installs are not compatible with the Crystal without using some sort of adapter plate. Shimizu flat plates, however, such as on the LS40, will fit fine. The Shimizu 5-pin connection stays clear of the low punch and low kick buttons, making installs straightforward. Despite the deeper depth of the Shimizu lever body, there's plenty of clearance when installed, and it doesn't rub on the bottom plate. Korean levers such as the Myungshung Fanta will not fit in this case. The grommet is too large to fit through the stock shaft opening, and the mounting patterns of the retention screws is significantly different. Without replacing the top panel with a purpose-built one, or doing extensive modifications to the existing panel, Korean levers should be avoided. If we examine the case more closely, the clear panel is interesting and adds to the Crystal feel, but it does show the raw metal panel underneath, which may or may not be to your liking. The external quality of the case is very good, and the plastic is thick and doesn't feel weak, making it feel less like a toy than other low-cost alternatives. This is on par with previous Q2 cases in terms of quality, and the major difference is the touchpad addition in the upper right corner. The metal panel combined with the plastic housing lends itself well to making custom replacements with new and different layouts, since Qanba didn't feel it necessary to go overboard with the plastic reinforcements under it. That's a significant leg up on competing sticks like the Wrap 4 that preclude new layouts without cutting away major portions of the stick. The Qanba Crystal is a good mid-price stick at only $125. It has a lot of good qualities and no drawbacks that I could find. You aren't going to try and buy the lever or buttons secondhand to put in a different case, But let's face it, few companies have had success competing with the Sanwa and Shimizu juggernauts when it comes to premium arcade parts. If you want a stick that you can grow into and upgrade down the line without spending a lot of cash up front, this is probably your best option right now. The price is right and the features you need are all here in a nicely done package. Panel swaps are possible in this case if someone decided to make them. Since the Q2 form factor was a popular case, it's likely this could be happening in the future. Hey Qanba, are you ready to collaborate on some aftermarket parts? So, how do I grade it overall? Basic modding gets an A. You can easily change the lever, buttons, and ball top with basic hand tools. You will need a Phillips and flathead screwdriver to do it, and it's a simple 20 to 30 minute endeavor. Everything is easy to get to and swap out, even by the newcomers to modding. Advanced modding also gets an A. Advanced pad hacks, fighting boards, upgrades, or LEDs is easy if you know how to solder. Qanba did a great job of making everything accessible and leaving you enough room in the case to work should you choose to go down that route. Unlike other offerings in the same price range that skimp on access or over-engineer the PCB and plastic, Qanba didn't do that, and it's going to be easy to add things in the future. Do you want to sponsor an episode of Breaking Down the Stick or provide a fight stick for me to break down? Of course you do! Send me a message via any of the social media links below to discuss further options, and I can put you or your business in front of tens of subscribers on YouTube, hundreds on Twitter, or even thousands on Facebook. Think of the possibilities. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up button. If you still think I'm a chucklehead and this is way too harsh of a review or breakdown, click that thumbs down button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you can get notices every time a new episode or video is posted, and follow Jasen's Customs on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Do you need more Breaking Down the Stick episodes to watch? Then check out these over here.